What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So over the weekend, we did have a game leak out once again through the ratings board, and it's a title I've been waiting to see get announced here soon since it was first leaked out, and it does appear that we are coming up on that announcement. We're gonna go over that one here today. Also, we are gonna be talking about the Switch OLED and its first public appearance now, showing off that new screen, and we're also gonna be talking about THQ Nordic. They had their showcase live stream announcing a bunch of games, then also let us know there's still plenty more to come. Guys, if you enjoyed these videos, make sure that like button helps out a ton, and if you're new here to the SpawnWave channel, make sure you subscribe down below and ring that notification bell so you can keep up to date with all the uploads here on the channel. And we're going to start today with Quantic Dream and Star Wars, as it looks like a new report is saying that Quantic Dream is actually making a brand new Star Wars game. And in fact, it looks like they've been doing it for over a year now in development. We can see this over on DualShocker saying, sources, Quantic Dream Star Wars title has been in the works for 18 months. This from Tom Henderson, going on to say that the overall information they've been giving is overwhelming in the sense of the source's contact with Quantic Dreams. And looking at what they would do with the Star Wars franchise, I think it'd be interesting because it would be very different from what we've had, specifically the kind of games they make with Detroit Become Human or Beyond Two Souls or Heavy Rain. These are heavy narrative-driven titles that have like different paths through the story, and a lot of times you get different endings, and it would be interesting to see them either create, I guess, an original story in that universe, or even use characters that already exist in the Star Wars universe in, I guess, a game that they would create. One they've been apparently making for the last year and a half. It's just a way to change things up a bit, considering we wouldn't get this game from EA, or at least this kind of game. So I like the idea of this, and I like to see Star Wars just go to all of these different developers and publishers who would have different ideas in mind. Also, we saw how things went with Balan Wonderworld. Not the best in terms of sales or reviews or really anything, and it appeared that after the game came out, Yuji Naka kind of moved on from Square Enix. Well, he did give fans an update as to what he's up to now. We can see this. This was posted up on Twitter saying, "Thank you for your birthday messages. I'm 56 years old. I've recently started learning how to program again, and I'm working on a simple game for smartphones with Unity. I'm making it by myself, so it's not much, but I'm enjoying programming it. I hope you'll be able to play with the app when it's available." I mean, it kind of sounds like Yuji Naka has moved on, and just said, hey, maybe I'll go and make a smaller title. And I mean, making it for smartphones, it makes sense. The smartphone market is very good when it comes to returns if you come up with a decent enough game, as we see with gacha games bringing in tons of money. But it sounds like if he's kind of designing it on his own and programming it, it'll probably just be like a smaller title for smartphones. Kind of just seems like he's kind of going back to the roots and just having fun creating a game again. So it's good to see that he's on to doing something different after Balan Wonderworld. Although he did give us something to let Sean play through after Metroid Dread sells 3 million copies. When you'll remember, we talked about that Sega RPG that was being teased for Tokyo Game Show, and I had my doubts because, well, it's Sega, and turns out they proved me right with those doubts, because we can see this over on YouTube. They posted this video up. Again, a little bit of a teaser towards Tokyo Game Show and that RPG. And it turns out it's going to be for mobile phones. They went through this whole trailer, and it seemed like it was building up to this pretty hype announcement, or this hype teaser. And then they're like, coming to mobile phones. And, well, you can see the like to dislike ratio for yourself here. People aren't exactly thrilled with that idea. Again, it's Sega. I understand the mobile phone market is very lucrative for these companies, but now people are looking at this announcement on that Tokyo Game Show slot as something they can pass, considering they're sort of expecting a gacha style game. It could just be like an actual good RPG that's just straightforward with their monetization practices of, oh, you hand us money, we hand you the game. But we see what happens in the mobile space, and that's why a lot of people are expecting a pretty standard gacha game. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with this big game that was leaked again, and that has to do with the Castlevania Advanced Collection. That's right, we talked about it before. I think it was in June that it appeared on a ratings board, got people really excited, and then I think it happened again. It was in like Korea, then it was in Australia, and now it appears that we actually have ratings showing the systems that it's going to be heading to, and you can see those here. This was spotted by Gamatsu. It was the Taiwan Digital Game Rating Committee, Castlevania Advanced Collection for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. This is the correct plan here. Just put it on everything you can. And we all assume at this time that this should be the 3 Castlevania games that we had on the Game Boy Advance. And I mean, they were on a roll back then. This was the early 2000s. This was 2001, 2002, 2003. We had 3 different Castlevania games, like 2D style Castlevania games on the Game Boy Advance. That was Circle of the Moon, Harmony of Dissonance, and Aria of Sorrow. That would be a phenomenal collection, and the fact that it's been rated once again here with the platforms all listed tells me we're coming up with an announcement here pretty soon. And considering we're just weeks away from Tokyo Game Show, I mean, that would be a good spot to drop the news and announcement for this, or maybe there is a Nintendo Direct around the corner here as we finish out September. They want to drop it in there to announce it. This is just a really good collection, considering where we are seeing the overall collector's market going in that direction of massive prices. I mean, we just talked about the WADA stuff that's happening, but even beyond that, just basic pricing right now for something like Aria of Sorrow, if you just want it loose, it's like $120. So if, say, Konami shows up and they're like, oh, we have this Castlevania Advance Collection, and it's $40, I mean, that's a steal for these 3 Castlevania games that are legitimately good 2D style Castlevania games. And if that is the case, and it looks good overall, I would say absolutely pick it up. I do wonder if they'd push it to 50. I don't think they'll go to 60 with something like this, but hey, it's Konami. Konami knows how to Konami. Nintendo knows how to Nintendo. Konami knows how to Konami. Actually, while we're on the topic of Konami knowing how to Konami, we need a physical copy here, right? Like they can't drop this as digital only when it first comes out. These are 3 awesome Castlevania games. They deserve to be on a Blu-ray disc and a cartridge, specifically a cartridge. Like, that'd be really cool to buy just this whole collection on a single cartridge for the Switch, which I feel like is where most people would go to pick this one up, because it was on the Game Boy Advance. Yes, it was on the Wii U, but as I said before, I mean, you can download them there, but not a lot of people bought a Wii U. You look at how many people have a Switch versus the Wii U, it's massively blown out of proportion there, right? So it's hard to say, yeah, go buy a Wii U for $200 so you can buy the game on the Wii U eShop for $7. But exciting stuff here. I guess look for an announcement here pretty soon, whether that's in a Nintendo Direct that's coming up here pretty soon, or towards the end of this month going into October at Tokyo Game Show. Next up, let's talk about the Metroid Dread Special Edition Switch that Nintendo is cleverly disguising as the Switch OLED, because it did have its first public appearance. Now, we have heard from different outlets that they had hands-on time with it, but they weren't even allowed to like take pictures of it or anything. Well, now it has a full display. We can see this over on Twitter. This posted up by Alex saying, the Switch OLED is on display at Nintendo Tokyo. The screen looks very vibrant and the smaller bezel is a nice step up. Now, you can see several pictures here that Alex took. Once again, the issue we have with the Switch OLED, it's going to be very difficult to show off the screen through pictures. Like, it's going to be something you have to see in person, so a display like this makes a ton of sense, and I would assume Nintendo is going to do a similar display in most big box retail stores, Best Buy, Walmart. They'll just kind of put it behind like some kind of glass or something and show off the screen. Now, the thing you can notice very easily is the smaller bezel, which is great. Very welcome change here, because the bezel, it's very noticeable on the current Switch. You get more screen real estate, you get a much better looking screen. OLED is, like I said, something you have to go and see in person, but when you do, it would be very difficult to turn around and go back to your current Switch with that LCD panel. I'll leave a link down below, though, to this tweet so you can check out these images for yourself. Like I said, the OLED effect isn't really going to come through that well on your screen through these pictures, but I think everything else about the system is looking pretty good with the slimmer bezel, and even the dock and the white Joy-Cons are looking pretty good there. I'm trying to think of the first game that I would be playing here. Obviously, Metroid Dread is going to be out next to it, but like that I would go back to outside of Metroid Dread. Would it be The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild? Would it be Mario Kart or Splatoon? Or hey, Cruise and Blast has a lot of really cool effects. So I'm trying to figure out what I'll pick out. Let me know down below which game you're going to fire up for the first time to take advantage of that new OLED display. Next up, let's talk about the THQ Nordic Showcase, where they had Jeff Keighley host, and they basically went through and announced a bunch of titles. They did promise one big revival, which they delivered on, but I'll admit it was even a game that I wasn't that familiar with. But we can take a look here at all of the games as we go through their live stream that they had, starting with Jagged Alliance 3. Then we had Superpower 3, MX vs. ATV Legends, Alex 2, Expeditions Rome, Outcast 2, this was the big revival, is an open world RPG from 1999. I did not have a lot of experience with this one, so if you were someone who got really excited when you heard them start talking about Outcast, let me know about that one down below. Destroy All Humans 2 though, Reprobed. I do know this one. I played this way back in the day and it was pretty cool to see this get announced, although it did leak like days before this stream, so we were kind of expecting. And then we had SpongeBob SquarePants, The Cosmic Shake, obviously playing off of the SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated, the remake that we had previously. This is a brand new 3D platform, which it is cool to see kind of the 3D platform revival, right? We just talked recently about Psychonauts 2, and now here we see SpongeBob SquarePants getting a brand new title. This is from Purple Lamp Studios. They also developed that remake. It's exciting stuff here for SpongeBob SquarePants fans. And then THQ Nordic wanted to finish things out with a screen that kind of reminded me of like Law and Order when that kind of ends their episode. It says, this is their tweet in accordance to that, as of today, THQ Nordic, handy games not included, has 42 games in development. Thereof 28 still unannounced after this showcase. So as I said before, Embracer Group's been pretty much collecting and acquiring tons of studios, developers across the board. And looking at this THQ Nordic, I assume they're not talking about other publishers and studios separate from them. Like this, I don't believe would be talking about, say, Time Splitters. That's over with, what, Deep Silver? So, I mean, that could be anything. We just saw them announce just like a game like Outcast 2. So you never know what THQ Nordic is going to show up with here. Even a brand new SpongeBob SquarePants game, right, that they just announced. The only thing with this, though, looking through the live stream, they didn't really have any release dates. And I'd say, 60 to 70% of these trailers, maybe more, were just all CG. So it does appear that some of this stuff is still a ways off. I'm thinking we're going to see quite a few of these games come out next year, like even SpongeBob and Destroy All Humans 2. But either way, not a bad showcase. I just think some people were hoping, like myself, for another Darksiders, right? But I mean, those many games that are unannounced currently in development, I'd be shocked if we didn't see Darksiders get announced at maybe the next live stream here coming up. Overall, not bad from THQ Nordic. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about Project Deluge and their latest release, that being hundreds of Xbox and Dreamcast prototypes. Some games unannounced, others unreleased. We can take a look over on their website here where they had the news saying, continuing with our efforts with Project Deluge, today we present over 349 Microsoft Xbox prototypes and 135 Sega Dreamcast prototypes, from unreleased games to early builds. This lot continues to be fruitful. Now, they had previously done like 600 some odd PlayStation 2 builds from like E3 and just unreleased prototype, all kinds of stuff there. Now we see them diving into the original Xbox and Dreamcast, which is really cool. They have some screenshots here of different games and builds for the Dreamcast. And for the Xbox, see like Jet Set Radio Future, Jet Grind Radio, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, Off-Road. So this is exciting stuff because obviously people are starting to go through all of them and they're finding some weird things. Like, here's a great example. This posted up by Sega Dreamcast Info. Beware, this is completely crazy. Secret race in a Dreamcast prototype of Sega GT. Name of the race is Sony GT2. Who's there? It's Luigi. Yeah, that Luigi for some reason is in a prototype for Sega GT. And no one seems to know why that's the case. And this is a prototype, so it's for internal use. It probably was never going to come out, obviously, because, well, that's Nintendo's IP. You can't really just take Nintendo's intellectual property like Luigi, drop them into your game as like an unlockable character or asset or something there. There's a chance it was, as people were saying, a placeholder, inside joke at the studio. I mean, I'm sure they messed around with all kinds of builds before they eventually get to their final build. It's just, these are the kind of things you find when these prototypes get out there, and it's really cool to see Project Deluge continue on with these kind of efforts, because the things that they uncover and then also preserve in these efforts is incredible. So keep an eye out, because there are so many prototypes out there and unreleased builds. You might see random stuff like Luigi popping up in Sega GT. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're taking a little poll that I posted up yesterday, where I asked, are you picking up Kena Bridge of Spirits this week? 16% said yes, I'm looking forward to it. 25% said maybe if the reviews look good, and then 59% said no, not interested, or waiting for a sale later, or maybe even a physical copy, as they've kind of alluded to looking into a physical copy sometime down the road. That's how they're going to get me. I'm going to pick it up on Tuesday when the game releases digitally, and then months later they're going to be like, oh yeah, here's a physical PlayStation 5 disc. That's just the way it goes a lot of the time, especially recently. But I'm hoping we see some reviews today for this game. From what I was hearing and people have been talking about online, it sounds like review codes went out kind of late. Like, they started to go out over the weekend and some hadn't even had their codes sent out by like Sunday. So I'm not really sure what to make of that one. Now, it appears the game is like 8 to 10 hours long, according to some of the Q&A they've had. So it's not going to be a long game to get through if you absolutely have to, since you're reviewing the game. But I'm a little concerned based on what I'm hearing there. So yeah, I would keep it out for reviews today. I'm crossing my fingers that's very good, and I'll be checking it out tomorrow. And I'm sure we'll be talking about it on the podcast on Saturday. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Obi-Wan saying the Wii had TurboGrafx 16, Neo Geo CD, and Genesis games in its retro eShop. So what if we're getting one of these for Switch Online instead of the 64? Controllers for each are fairly rectangular, especially the TurboGrafx. So the idea of that diagram is that they're just showing a square. It's a basic shape because they don't want to show us the shape of what it actually is, since, I mean, we all know what a 64 controller shaped like. So if they showed us that, it's like you can't really hide that with a silhouette. But the idea of Nintendo going out and getting a third-party system for their Switch Online would be kind of cool, because people wouldn't see that coming. But if they did that, I think they would definitely have to raise the overall price of their Switch Online. And I still would like to see a future where Nintendo just has this Netflix-like service, like what they had on the Wii, where they had like the virtual console, but everything thrown into this one application that you pay for monthly, and it's across different platforms, like mostly PC and Switch. I don't see an issue with them going back, getting a lot of their older games that aren't something they really sell in stores now, and having an application that's like $10 a month, large library games, and they put it on PC and the Switch. Seems like an easy way to make money, but sometimes Nintendo's allergic to that. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. Where's that Castlevania Advance Collection? Would you be interested in a collection like that has those 3 Game Boy Advance Castlevania games on it? Also, what about the Switch OLED system? Are you picking that up alongside of Metroid Dread? And then the THQ Nordic Showcase. Did you enjoy it? And what was your favorite game there? Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.